Oh hi, my name is Mr. Artra, and I'm here with another video with some building tips for you. Making good looking builds in Minecraft is not as hard as you might think. All it really takes is knowing some steps. Right here we have a bunch of stone blocks, right? It's all pretty much gray. It looks really just flat and gray. With just those gray blocks, we can make something that looks really interesting. Just this section of wall here that looks old and dilapidated and torn down, and part of it's been turned into gravel. I mean, look, it's interesting to look at. You can spend some time, and that's with just these blocks here. It just takes some time to really pay attention to what you're doing. So if we come over here, we can see how we can turn just this flat section of wall into something better. So with this right here, just adding some blocks that are not lined up together to kind of break it up. They're in the same color palette, right? So they match up nicely and they just break up the sameness. We've added some stone bricks and some cobblestone wall here to give it some depth. And we come over here and then we've added some more details. We've broken it up a little bit, added some cracks, added some mossy variants, put a little flour there and some bone meal. And it's gone from being something flat and kind of boring into being far more interesting. And all it took was a little bit of time and some effort to think about what we were doing. So let's come over here. This right here is just a boxy box house that just hurt a little bit putting it together, but I wanted to start with something very, very basic and ask the question, how can we make this better? Right now we've got cobblestone and oak, which, you know, props for varying it up. We got some spruce floor again. You know, at least there's multiple types of blocks in the build palette. But how can we make this better without really changing the build palette? So what we can do is do things like take this cobblestone, build it out a little bit right here, right? Now this may be a little thick for what you're doing. However, I mean, it makes it sturdy, it helps out, right? And it adds that depth that we're looking for. And then we can come over here with some spruce stairs and add an awning over the doorway. We can come over here and add trap doors to give it windows. And then with still trap doors, we can give them shutters. So this, even right here, is starting to look a lot better. We haven't changed the build palette. It's still spruce, cobblestone, and oak. But we have already improved it just by adding some things to the outside. We haven't even changed the inside of it. If we come in here, it's still pretty much the same. Just how big is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's still a 7x7 box, right? So now we've gone from the base coat, we've added some depth. Now, if we remember from looking over here, our next step is to detail, add like weathering, add landscape, add flowers and things such as that. So what we can do here is, like with this cobblestone, is come over and take out chunks of it like that to show, you know, over time, you know, wind and rain and just the natural course of time has torn down this stone just a little bit. And up here, especially up here, actually, because what you're going to have is a lot more weathering in places where wind and rain contact it more frequently. So like the roof here, I mean, especially on top of a hill, there's a lot of wind coming along this building here. So you just take your time thinking about the area you're building in and the nature of it, right? Like if you're building in a very wet area, you're going to have a lot of moss. Or if you're building in an area that's very overgrown, you're going to have these areas that are mossy and just really, really nice looking. The mossy stone variants are really, really cool to work with. You can do also that very same thing with the wood. As over time, wood breaks down, as it is an organic structure. So you'll have bits like that, And, you know, depending actually on like the nature of the house, you know, you may have a hole in the wall right there. I mean, you know, maybe you use the shutters to cover the hole in your wall. Who knows? People live in interesting situations sometimes. I once had an acting teacher who told me about when he was in college, he lived in a shed behind his landlord's house, and there was like corn growing through the floor and things like that. People live in surprising situations sometimes. Okay, slab. And we can do things like play with the height of these here. You know, even actually make them a little bit taller if you wanted to. Although, you know, there. Yeah. You know, just maybe this was once part of a bigger structure. Maybe these were ruins that were here before whoever was living here now changed its purpose. You know, you can imply history through just things like this, where you bring it down a little bit. And then you can come down here and add kind of a nice cobble porch or walkway, you know, and then some stairs, and maybe you see some slabs in here, like do, you know, these kind of things, you know, just little touches. And come down here with a poppy right there, and maybe dandelion. Two of the most common, simplest flowers in the game. You can find them anywhere, and just a couple of them there. And you can see we have taken that simplistic, boxy house and turned it into something far more interesting. Look at that. Look at that. That's actually, you know, a relatively nice looking house. I would not be upset to live there, necessarily. I would probably do a little bit more. You know, let's do a little bit with the roof. There we go. Yes. Okay. There we go. Just needed a little bit of detail. It looked far too flat. So if anybody flying over with an Elytra, I mean, oh goodness, look. Oh, there wasn't enough depth on that cobble roof. Oh goodness. So once again, without changing the build palette at all, save maybe adding a couple of flowers, which you can find pretty much anywhere. I mean, they're all over the place here. We have made it look so much better just by adding some variants, right? You got stairs, you've got just walls, trapdoors, and then just taking some stuff out, making it look more weathered. And we haven't used any special techniques or anything like that. This has just been spending a little more time and being a little more thoughtful about the process. Building in Minecraft can be a really fun and really rewarding experience. Sometimes it's nice to just take a picture from the internet and build something from there. A lot of those modern style houses that you see people building, they've found those on the internet and done their own touches on them. These right here, what I like to do is just take features of the environment and build around them or on top of them or use them for inspiration. That is the key to building in Minecraft, is just finding ways to inspire yourself and then spending some time polishing. So this horrible oak and cobble box that we started with has now turned into kind of an enchanting little hut on top of a hill. It's not bad at all. And again, that's just using cobblestone, oak, and spruce, and then, you know, some flowers and maybe some bone meal to to add some landscaping. Just, you know, some time and a little bit of effort. That's all. Let's talk a little bit more about weathering, where we take something that's already been built and give it the implication of age by adding a few things, taking some things away, and making sure that weather and time has had its way with the building first. So let's look at this section of wall here. Now, this is probably something that you might see on a medieval build for like a castle wall or something like that. But if you look at it, I mean, this looks brand spanking new. There's no cracks in it. There's no nothing. I mean, this was probably built yesterday, you know, in terms of the way it looks. So if we wanted to weather this and just make it look a little more like it stood the test of time, maybe seen a battle or two, there's just a few steps we can take here. So basically what we want to start with is look at the main block. What takes up the most block space? So for here, we've got like stone bricks. So what we want to do is look at the stone brick variants. And what we've got here is ignore the infested ones. We've got mossy stone bricks. We've got cracked stone bricks, chiseled stone bricks. But we also got stone brick stairs and mossy stone brick stairs. And then, of course, you know, slabs. So we can use all of those to make this look a little more weathered. So we can put cracked brick there. We can do some mossy brick going on through here. A slab here. And never be afraid to break out a block and then put one behind it. Like that. You can see we've added a good amount of depth right there, and maybe implied, you know, some patchwork or something like that. Or maybe there's another type of material behind the stone. And by just doing some of this work here and coming around and even like taking out one every now and then, that right there, that will happen over time. You'll just lose chunks of stone just due to erosion and weathering. One thing that I like to do every now and then is take out a chunk like that entirely and then add in gravel. What this implies is that something hit this strong enough that it even like pulverized the stone a little bit, so that you've ended up with some ground up rock right there. And you can even pile it up a little bit if you wanted to. What you can also do is bring the environment up around it. A lot of times, like, wind will carry dirt and dust and stuff, and you'll end up with, you know, the ground kind of rising up around it. And then when you have those, you can add some mossy bricks to show how stuff has started kind of growing up the walls a little bit. And depending on where you're at, it might not be a bad idea to add some vines. Maybe the trees in the area have started growing down around it, you know, so you've ended up with some vines growing down here. It has to be on full blocks, but you know, you can add a little bit there. Another thing you can do is take the main block that you're tending to use, like, you know, we're doing stone brick, and put some of them on the ground in front of it, as if parts of it has broken off, or like they've done some repair work and it's just been sitting there. All of these things that we're doing here just kind of give the impression of time or abandonment, even depending on, you know, what you're going for. A lot of building really boils down to just thinking about what you're doing. Are you building ruins? Are you building something brand new? Are you building something that has stood the test of time and is still used today? These are all questions that you need to ask yourself while you're building. And those will give you the inspiration to do the things that I've been showing you here. It's really a matter of empowering yourself. So thank you very much for watching. If you like what you saw, please be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that share button. Tell people what you saw. Like, oh, that amazing Mr. Artra. He just taught me how to build better. Yay. No, don't do that. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitch. Go over on Facebook if you like. I'm pretty much everywhere. If you have any comments, suggestions, helpful criticism, anything like that, please be sure to put a comment down below and let me know what you think. I like it. I love it. I want to hear what you have to say. So thank you again, and until next time, boosts.